Today in the episode, 20-point peace framework plan revealed by Zelenskyy, with Zaporizhzhia NPP and territories being main sticking points. There are two ways to win a war and to win the minds of those who want to believe that you won the war. Learn what choice Putin has made in our reportage for you. President Zelenskyy, in an off-rec conversation with journalists, revealed what he called a peace plan framework that consists of 20 points. Please let us inform you what they are, and at least try to explain some of them to the best of our and our experts' knowledge. Sovereignty. Undeniable confirmation of Ukraine's sovereignty. Non-aggression pact is signed between Russia and Ukraine. Security guarantees for Ukraine. Military strength. 800,000 personnel of Ukraine's armed forces remains anyway. Article 5, NATO-like guarantees, in terms of NATO Article 5. Russia to enshrine its non-aggression policy towards Europe and Ukraine into domestic law. Ukraine to join the EU by a fixed date in the nearest future. A global development package in a separate investment treaty. Recovery funds. $800 billion to restore and replenish what Russia has destroyed. Free trade agreement Ukraine with the USA. Non-nuclear status for Ukraine, in terms of weapons, of course. Zaporizhzhia NPP. No compromise achieved yet. Worth mentioning to that point 9, regarding $800 billion recovery funds. Only estimated damage done to Ukraine by Russia, calculated by international organization, was estimated over $1 trillion to the mid-2025, and counting. To point 12, Zaporizhzhia NPP, what Americans are offering is what they think is called a fair share control, 33%, part Ukrainian, part American, part Russian. So to what it means to me, Russia invades, kills, burns Ukraine, blackmails the world, and gets rewarded for all that with a fair share of a nuclear power pie. President Volodymyr Zelenskyy confirms the U.S. proposal suggests a tripartite joint operation of the plant involving Ukraine, the United States, and Russia, while Ukraine insists on sharing control of ZNPP between Ukraine and the USA at 50-50. President Zelenskyy emphasized that the complete demilitarization of the facility also remains a non-negotiable necessity. Even now, ZNPP is under constant shelling by Russian troops. Since the beginning of Putin's full-scale invasion of Ukraine, a nuclear power plant has been blacked out more than 10 times. Another question, nuclear fuel, even when it is not used to generate power, it must remain cooled at all times. Blackouts could cause an uncontrolled nuclear reaction, which would release immense amounts of radiation. That reads into the hard truth in easy terms for you. All Europe remains under nuclear threat as of now and at all times, while Russians are in charge of Zaporizhzhia NPP. As simple as that. Now to more peace framework points voiced by Zelenskyy. School programs focused on cultural understanding. Territorial status, no compromise yet. Non-violent resolution, not altering the said agreement through military force in any way. Maritime and river access. Russia will not obstruct commercial activity on the Dnipro River or the Black Sea. So, territories, the most difficult point of the framework. I'd say Ukraine's proposal for the Russian Federation is to leave the Dnipro, Mykolaiv, Sumy, and Kharkiv regions. In Donetsk, Lugansk, Zaporizhzhia, Kherson regions, all troops stay where they are as of the moment of signing the agreement. But Putin wants Ukraine to withdraw from the entirety of Donetsk region. So the United States are now trying to promote a compromise, a free economic zone, whatever that means. Then the free economic zone must be adopted with a referendum. In terms of that free economic zone, British Army Lieutenant Colonel Glenn Grant attempts to find an answer, what that free demilitarized economic zone is and how that zone would work. And could Russia be trusted at all to keep it free demilitarized in the first place?
Answer to the two questions. I mean, answer to the first question is I have no idea what they mean by a free economic zone. I mean, I know what economic zones are in other countries, but free economic zone for who? For Ukraine or for Russia or for the USA? Because free economic zone means you go in and out and you don't have customs and tax and things like this. And so who's going to benefit by this? Who's going to control it to make sure? Because you have to police a free economic zone. Otherwise, you just get everybody coming in and out, and nobody will pay tax anywhere because they'll all do everything through the free economic zone. Now, it could be extremely prosperous if something was well run. But do we honestly believe that Russia is going to allow anything to be prosperous with or for Ukraine? And that is the answer to the second question. No, we cannot trust them. They've had hundreds of opportunities to show they can be trusted, and not a single one of them have they fulfilled with trust. Therefore, we cannot trust them at all. If we leave a space, they will move into it to fill it up as quickly as they possibly can, and then they'll just have taken more ground and more land. And there is no way that they're not going to do this because Putin's saying he's going to do this. So why would we trust them for anything?
And now the last 4 points of those 20 voiced by President Zelenskyy and called a peace agreement framework. An all-for-all prisoner swap. Ukraine to hold elections as soon as possible. The agreement signed to be controlled by a peace council chaired by Donald Trump. Immediate ceasefire. As peace negotiations go on, the war does too. Ukrainian forces continue to successfully strike deep into Russia. As per General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, in Russia's Tula region, drones attacked the Efremov synthetic rubber plant. Locals reported on social media at least 10 explosions, according to Russian media. Social media posts also indicate that firefighters are on their way to the scene. Tula Region Governor Dmitry Milyav reported on the evening of December 23rd about the danger of a drone attack in the region. Later, in the early hours of Wednesday, he wrote that the threat of drone strikes still persists. The Efremov synthetic rubber plant is one of the first producers of synthetic rubber and high molecular weight polymeric materials in Russia. In recent years, the plant has faced a decline in sales and profits, partly due to falling demand and changing market conditions. There are two ways to win a war: to win a war and to win the minds of those who want to believe that you won the war. The last scenario is more likely for outdated dictators who wanted to have a capital of a country he invaded in 3 days and ended up in controlling less territory than he did 4 years ago when he invaded. Looking to our story for more details.
Putin may be trying to buy time, but he is prolonging the war against Ukraine not because it is his favorite tactic. He is doing so because he is unable to achieve a decisive victory, write U.S. Senators, Democrat Jeanne Shaheen and Republican Mitch McConnell in a column for The Washington Post.
Russians are paying an extraordinary economic price in pursuit of Putin's lust for glory and blood. Russian oil and gas revenue has fallen more than 30% due to attacks on its energy infrastructure. The Kremlin has been selling gold to stabilize its finances and shield elites from the true cost of Putin's war. And roughly a quarter of Russian companies are now bankrupt or at risk, from a publication by The Washington Post.
If Washington and its allies hope to achieve peace through negotiations, the only viable way to do so is to strengthen Ukraine, the senators are convinced. Congress has an effective tool to force Putin to stop the aggression, tightening sanctions pressure. The balance between the carrot and stick in the negotiations is working, emphasized the president of Finland. We are probably closer to reaching a peace agreement than ever in this war, Alexander Stubbs stated in an interview with Fox News. According to him, the parties have moved closer to agreements. But the most difficult 5% of the path still lies ahead.
The Russian economy is actually not doing that well. They have zero growth, they are out of reserves, they have high interest rates and high inflation, and it's not improving. If we get a deal between Europe, the United States and Ukraine, and then Russia rejects that deal, that's when it's time to hike up the sanctions.
The president of Romania does not share his colleagues' confidence. Nicolae Dan believes that despite pressure from the U.S. president's administration, the end of the war is still far away.
I am more pessimistic than optimistic on short term. Putin's side does not appear to want peace. They think a peace in 2-3 months from now will be better for them than peace now. So they will fight more, because they have some small progress on the field. Nicolae Dan, president of Romania, in an interview with Politico.
Last week in Miami, a series of meetings took place between the American and Ukrainian delegations. Representatives of President Trump also held consultations with Putin's special envoy. Negotiations on ending Russia's war against Ukraine are progressing, but the situation remains uncertain, the White House chief summarized.
Ukraine, Russia are going along. They lost, as you know, 27,000 soldiers last month, mostly soldiers, some people in Kiev, etc., but mostly soldiers. And the talks are going along. We solved all these wars. The only one I haven't solved yet is Russia, Ukraine.
However, the Kremlin is clearly preparing to reject the draft peace plan. Putin's aide, Ushakov, stated that most of the proposals formulated during the U.S.-Ukraine negotiations in Miami are, quote, categorically unacceptable to Moscow. According to him, the points that Kyiv and Europe are trying to include in the peace plan allegedly hinder the achievement of long-term peace. Putin started this war and is prolonging it not for the sake of Donbass, but to remove peoples from deciding the fates of their countries. He wants to decide everything himself. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy is convinced.
These are signals not only for us. It is important that partners see this, and it is important that they not only see, but also react. In particular, partners in the United States of America, who often say that Russia supposedly wants to end the war. But from Russia comes completely different rhetoric, different signals, and as official instructions to their army. This mood of Russia must be seen and reacted to. And when they have exactly this mood, they will undermine diplomacy, trying with various diplomatic formulations, pressure on one point or another in documents to simply cover up their desire to destroy Ukraine, Ukrainians, their desire to achieve legitimization of Russia's theft of our land.
Real protection from Russian history of madness is needed, Volodymyr Zelenskyy emphasized. Therefore, international community pressure on the aggressor must be intensified. Reported by Yulia Hrnovska, UATV News.
That's it for today's News Digest. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. We want to hear what you think. That's it. See you next time.